Hello, this is Akhil from Academy of Bless. So today, 29th October 2022, we will be discussing a total of 8 topics and all the topics are taken from the Hindu newspaper, right? So the interested aspirants can download the PDF from this Telegram link. So shall we move on to the topics? The first topic is UAPA gave an impetus to fight against terror. Modi. So basically, what is meant by UAPA? U means unlawful act prevention act, right? So in what circumstances can we use this act? For example, there are police can take action in two circumstances. One is after committing the crime, right? After committing crime, and another one is before committing the crime. So UAPA comes under this ambit before committing the crime. So um, if we know the record of certain persons, we can make sure that he will commit this crime in the future. So, in order to avoid any such bad circumstances, the police can use this or government can use this act to arrest those persons. This is the definition or this is the usage of this act. So, shall we move on to the topic? So, actually, for past few months or we can say for past 2 years, supreme court is mulling to supreme court is asking the central government on the review of uap act. And supreme court is saying that actually in today's world uapa act is not needed, and it is also criticizing the government that government is using this act to arrest its political opponents or political rivalries, right? So we shall move on to the details, right? What is in this article? Prime Minister Modi has said that UAPA had given an impetus to the system in decisive fight against terrorism. So, what our Prime Minister Modi has said that this act gives some power to fight against terrorism. So, if we knew that this person is going to commit crime or going to commit terrorism, before committing the terrorism, the police can prevent that action using this act, right? So, what he is saying is, in the past, this press or in this social media was not that much big, so that it can reach all over the people. But in the today's world, the press and the social media is so powerful that it can reach every nook and corner. Even it can reach this news to children's, right? Even children's are using social media. So what our prime minister said is Naxals are not the persons who hold the guns alone. Naxals are the persons. Now there is a new term called as urban Naxal. These persons hold the pens to write against the government or to write against the country, whatever they want. And this information is reaching so fast that government can't curb these actions, right? So here what he said is now Naxals who hold a gun, but also those who wield a pen and mislead the youth by exploiting their emotions. Such forces who get international support. Yes, these persons will be in the form of journalists. So these persons will get international donations or international support should not be allowed to take root as they were detrimental to the unity and integrity of the country. Right? So this statement came amid the Supreme Court's question to the central government of the UAPA Act. So what the AIMIM President Asauddin Owaisi tweeted that in 2018 to 20 alone, 4,690 people were booked in this UAPA Act. But only 3% of the people were only convicted, right? So if you see, out of total 4,690 persons, you will get around 100 persons, around 100 persons as 3 percentage, right? So only 3 percentage of peoples were convicted by the court, and other persons were not convicted, but they were booked under the UAPA Act. So UAPA gives his government power to jail anyone without any accountability. So no one can ask now. If government says that he is doing these criminal things and he will do these criminal things, so we have to arrest him. We can't question government because government is taking as a precautionary measure. So he's saying that government is arresting anyone and we can't ask because uh, there is no accountability. We can't ask. Maybe they will say due to the arrest of these persons, these acts were prevented. Government can say like that. So this is what AIMIM president has tweeted. So what at first I have said is Mr. Modi said that one should not be limited to social media as the only source of information. So in social media there is a rampant of messages of fake messages. Anyone can spread a fake messages, and the disadvantage of social media is it gets shared so fastly. So what our prime minister is saying that one should fact check these messages with the original media or another sources so that they can check whether it is real or not. One should not believe the messages that is in the social media, and one single piece of fake messages can be snowballed and it can become a big or a very devastating thing to the country itself, right? So he's quoting about the past details such as India had to face due to fake news about job reservations in the past. He's using this example to explain why one should not be limited to social media as the only source of information, right? So we will be seeing what is meant by UAPA Act. Originally enacted in 1967, the UAPA was amended to be modeled as anti-terror law in 2004 and 8. Right? So in 2004 and 8, this UAPA Act was amended for anti-terrorism activities also. Parliament cleared this. Actually, in the past, this act was only for a group, specific group. But in 2019, it was amended so that even the persons can be arrested using this act. In order to deal with the terrorism related crimes, it deviates from the original legal procedures and create an exceptional regime where constitutional safeguards of the accused are curtailed. So, associated issues, vague definition of terrorism act. So, what are the disadvantages in this act? Actually, in the United Nations definition, terrorism is defined as something else, but in this UAPA Act, terrorism is defined as something else. So there is a vague definition. It doesn't define the what is meant by terrorism clearly. Similarly, if you are booked under the UAPA Act, you cannot get bail easily. I mean you can't get bail, right? So pendency of trials. So uh, if there is lot of cases in UAPA, see, our judicial system will be overburdened and there will be a lot of pendency of trials. State overreach means the state can use this act against anyone who opposes the government. Undermining federalism means there are a lot of that India has a lot of states and a central government. So central government can use against a person who is ruling in a state, means the opposition party who is ruling the state. If central government wants to shut his mouth, they can use this UAPA Act. These are the examples, right? So significance of the judgment. So actually Supreme Court is saying to limit this UAPA Act. So, if they limit the UAPA Act, it limits the scope of the police agencies, right? So, they can't arrest the real culprits using this UAPA Act, confirming constitutional freedom. Even Constitution has given this UAPA Act, but the Supreme Court is trying to curtail this power. So, if this happens, it curtails the constitutional freedom. So, shall we move on to the next topic? Plea in High Court challenges delimitation of civic words. So, actually, this topic is related to Delhi, right? So, in Delhi, there except three police, land, and one more else police, land, and one public order, right? So, except these three other controls are with the state government. So, police, public orders, and land. Except these three, others are with the state government. So, it's Delhi. The government, a Congress leader has filed a petition in the High Court that this Delimitation Act is against its original purpose, right? So the petition filed by Delhi Congress Chief Anil Kumar challenges the final delimitation report, which was published by the center in a Gazette notification. So, the delimitation of the Delhi lies with the center, right? So, the Congress leader in a plea highlighted the disparity in terms of population of us. Actually, in delimitation, it has for a certain area, it has to take how much persons are there, and it has to allot the land in accordingly. But what this Congress leader has said that there is a disparity in terms of population of wards and sort of fresh delimitation exercise. So, actually, before this, the centre has amended the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act. In Delhi, there were three erstwhile municipal corporations, but the central government has amended because public order lies with the central government. So, central government has amended, as I have said earlier, public order lies with the central government. So, central government has amended this municipal act to bring. There were three municipalities, right? So central government amended the act and it brought these three municipalities to one municipality corporation. One municipality corporation. So now central government has the responsibility of allocating the wards. So it constituted a three-member delimitation committee to execute the delimitation of municipal wards. So, what the petitioner said is, he stated the formula adopted by the authorities for the delimitation exercises was wholly arbitrary, irrational, unintelligible. So, this was the form. What he said is the formula is wrong, right? So, it also said that these were do as per the its own gains, means for its electoral gains they have they have done this delimitation accordingly. Okay, so delimitation does not reflect the equal and proportionate representation. So what is meant by delimitation? The basic term. Delimitation means the act or process of fixing the limits of boundaries of the territorial constituencies in the country to represent changes in the population, to provide equal representation to equal segments of the population, fair division or geographical areas, to follow the principle one vote one value. So under the Article 82, the Parliament enacts a delimitation act after every census. Similarly, this is for Parliament Act Article 82. Similarly, Article 170 states get territorial constitutions as per the Delimitation Act after every census. This is for states, and Article 82 is for Parliament, right? Once the act is enforced, the union government sets up a delimitation commission. So the first delimitation commission was carried out by the president with the help of election commission in 1951. You know that every census will be carried out in 1951, 61 accordingly, 10 years, right? So delimitation commission act was enacted in 1952. It has been set up four times: 52, 63, 73, and 2002 under the acts of 1952, 62, 72, and 2002. There was no delimitation commission after 1981 and 1991 census. So delimitation commission, it is appointed by president and it works in collaboration with the election commission of India, because delimitation is done mainly for the voting purposes. And who are the persons who is in this delimitation commission is, it consists of a retired Supreme Court judge, retired chief election commissioner, right, and respective state election commissioners. So one person is retired Supreme Court judge and others are from the election department, chief election commissioner and respective state election commissioners, to determine the boundaries, to identify the seats reserved for SC and ST wherever the population is relatively large, and in case of difference of opinion among the members of commission, the opposed opinion of the majority prevails. And one thing you have to see is the delimitation commission in India is a high power body and whose orders have a force of law and cannot be called in the question before any court. So you will be asking the question why High Court is asking the central government and the state government, right? So court has the power to review any decisions. In this factor, the court is reviewing, right? So it cannot question, but it can review, right? So it is doing what it can. So the death penalty and humanizing the criminal justice. Supreme Court of India is ordinarily expected to actually any judge will follow the rules what is written in the constitution and delivers its justice accordingly. But in this article, what it have said that uh, our present Chief Justice of India, U. Lalit, he is the 49th Chief Justice of India. He took a rare moment by taking several bold initiatives to correct certain grave anomalies that persisted in the operation of the death penalty law. So what actually is this does is in judge as per the constitution gives the justice, but uh, our present Chief Justice of India, he differed from his past ancestors and he gave the judgment according to the humanity, right? So he have attended the cases such as Anokilal versus State of Madhya Pradesh, Irfan versus State of MP, Manoj and ORS versus State of MP. In these cases, he have given a different verdict, right? So, the empirical evidence and research findings contained in the Death Penalty India Report 2016 and Death Worthy Report Project 39A of National Law University Delhi has came in handy to buttress the exceptional sensitiveness of Justice Lally. It is happy to argue that CJ had a unique opportunity in teaming up with like-minded judges such as Narasimha, Ravindra Trivedi and Sudhanshu Dulia, framing guidelines regarding potential mitigating circumstances to be considered while imposing death sentences. Framing guidelines regarding potential mitigating circumstances. So, for potential circumstances that has to be considered while imposing death sentence. It was given by the three judge bench. It consists of our current CJ, Ravindra Bhatt and Sudhanshu Dhulia, right? They have given a guidelines. So here, according to the legislative limitation flowing from section 354 of 3 in Code of Criminal Procedure, judicial limitation flowing from the rarest of rare case, and a oral hearing after all the remedies to be condemned are exhausted. It is also in fact that in all cases where imposition of capital sentence is a choice of sentence, Aggravating circumstances would always be on the record and would be the part of prosecutors' evidence leading to conviction, whereas the accused can be scarcely be expected to place for mitigating circumstances. Actually, what I have earlier said is the same sentence they have given. It is also a fact that in cases where imposition of capital sentence is a choice of sentence, right? But in rare circumstances only, the accused mitigating circumstances on the record are taken. So, the court is of opinion that it is necessary to have a clarity in the matter to ensure uniform approach on the question of granting real and meaningful opportunity as opposed to the formal hearing to the accused convict or issue of sentence. So, here, this is the main paragraph. You can use this in the main sentence, right? Main answer. The trial court, if you have any note, please take note of these sentences. um the trial court must take into account the social mile, the educational levels, or whether the accused has any faced trauma. So, uh, for example, he may be coming from a certain community. This is for an example. This is not for offensing anyone, right? For social milieu means someone maybe in the village or in that village there can be um, for example, that community may be practicing some occurred things, right? So, if you ask that person, he will say that it is not a wrong thing to do these things, right? So, it is his social life or social way of living. So, we can't criticize him for doing this because his society has practiced these things and he's repeating that thing, right? This is just an example. Please don't get offensive, right? For making you understand, I am saying this. His educational level, whether the accused has faced any trauma, maybe the accused have faced any some unoccurred circumstances that he can't forget, or he may be psychologically disturbed due to this. So we have to see these factors: family circumstances, psychological evaluation of a convict, and post conviction conduct. After the conviction, how the person behaves, right? So we have to see all every factors of that person before before the death, before the judgment day, right? Before the final judgment day were the relevant factors at the time of considering while the death penalty ought to be imposed upon the accused. So we are moving to the next topic. So this person, Vinod Thomas, is a former vice president, World Bank, and director. So he's one of the important person here. What he says is the top developed countries. This is the story. Before going into the details, we will be discussing the story. The developed countries, right, have pledged to the United Nations that they will be giving $100 billion collectively to the developing countries. Developing countries. For what? For this climate change problem, for climate change solution, right? These have been promised by the developed countries to the developing countries. But what they are doing is, instead of giving this amount or instead of giving these 100 billions technology to the developing countries, they are using the same amount to finance the old technology, means coal burn technology or fossil fuel technology. They are using the amount for their own back development. I can say that the statement, the word as back development, because they are using for the same old technology such as fossil fuel, coal technology, right? So this is what in the first paragraph they have said, resulting from the current trajectory GHG whose effects hitting developing economies and the poor hardest. This is why the imperative that United Nations Climate Summit. So the COP27 will be conducted in Egypt. So the governments, developed countries have to take certain actions, right? Not only they are not giving this fund package, but also other countries are developing countries and the underdeveloped countries and the poor countries are also facing due to the factor of Russia Ukraine war. They are still unwilling to offset past excesses by extending massive financing that developing economies need for climate action. So, the top five emitters of burning fossil fuels are China, United States, our country, India, Russia, and Japan, as well as collective Southeast Asian countries taken together. Out of this, you have not you should have to see also per person emit in countries in developed countries, United States, in Japan, per person emission is higher. For example, this is for example in United States, a person will emit about 70%. In India, as a collectively you can see it is in the top third position, but as per person emission you can see it will be around 10%. 10%. So you can see who is emitting more. So as per you have also heard about the recent prime minister's step, the life. According to a life, a individual has to change in order to bring a change collectively, right? So here, as per the life, and if an individual has to change, United States will have a huge change, right? So instead of accusing the developing countries, the developed countries have to change first. On the other hand, rich countries have already, yeah, actually, in 2007 to 8 there was a massive global emergency, financial emergency. At that time, these developed countries collectively uh, came out of this global financial emergency by by taking a huge finance, right? It was about 15 trillion at the time. But when it comes to climate change, these countries are resisting to change. At that time, they have taken about 15 trillion, but right now they are resisting to give 100 billion to developing countries for the climate change. Look at the hypocrisy. Reaching carbon neutrality by 2050 is absolute minimum. It is not an goal, it is the absolute minimum for all major emitters if unthinkable scenarios of global warming are to be averted. The reverberating message of COP27 should be the price of achieving carbon neutrality is a fraction of the cost to be adapted for the increasingly unlivable planet. Advance the year for net zero. So, in the past COP21 and COP26, you know that the countries have given, in COP26 particularly, countries have given a specific target. United States, it will become net zero carbon by 2050, China by 2060, and our country India by 2070. So what this author is saying that uh, if we go in the current scenario like US 2050, China 2060, India 2070, there will be a large disaster. So the countries should consider and make their commitments even before this. If, for example, India should be committed by 2060, China by 2050, and US by 2040. This is for example, right? And developing economies such as China and India are resisting to phase out the fossil fuels and the coal gas plants. instead of phasing out these coal plants, they are saying that they will phase down in a particular manner. For example, I will be reducing power plants in this year, and next year two power plants. Like that, I will be phasing down instead of phasing out totally. If I have six power plants, instead of phasing out total six power plants at a time, I'll be phasing down year by year. Like that, the developing economies are saying, because it's justifiable, because in the countries like China and India, they have a huge population and they have to give energy or power to these people, right? So it is justifiable. Similarly, countries can use climate tax, and banks can give additional loans such as green loans for the companies that uses only green technology. So banks can also scale upon climate projects, right? So shall we move on to the next topic? Sustained efforts needed to be fighter. So uh, in the recent week we have discussed that the China has uh, not China has not objected. China has hold the list that was given by India to impose sanctions on the certain people of certain terrorists of Pakistan, right? So here, what our foreign minister is saying, that sustained efforts need to fight terror. So it means every country has to get together to fight this terror. So here, these are irrelevant. Here we can see he listed effective and sustained efforts to counter terror financing. Now, normative efforts of UN need to be coordinated with collaborations with other fora like FATF to make sure that Security Council's sanction regime is not rendered effectively. So, UN has to collaborate with other important bodies like FATF, and they have to make a collective decision on sanctioning important terrorists because of political reasons. Political reasons means geopolitical reason like India China problem, international cooperation, and concerted action against terrorists and the sponsors, including the dismantlement of terrorist safe havens, are critical imperatives. Terrorism nexus with the transnational organized crime like arms and illicit drug trafficking is now established, because today the crimes are committed on the international platforms. The crimes are not only on the domestic platforms, because the global connectivity has improved. So the United Nations has a huge responsible on sanctioning these terrorists. So United Nations should not, as a whole, whatever finance minister and our prime minister also saying that United Nations need an upgrade, right? The present system is not viable for punishing or for a global cooperation against many issues, not only on terrorism, on many issues, right? So shall we move on to the next topic? I'm seeing whether I have left any important points. I think I have. Yeah, I covered every important points. So one nation, one policy, uniform is idea, Modi. So our Prime Minister has been advocating many things such as one nation, one ration card, one nation, one police, right? So Prime Minister says he is not imposing his views on state. He is not imposing his views on state, and adds that common uniforms will give a distinct identity to the police. Actually, our post box, it will have in red and black color, right? So when we see this box, we what the first thing comes in our mind is, this belongs to our Indian Postal Department. Similarly, if every police has a similar type of uniforms, when a person look at a police, he can understand he's a police personnel. for example, you can see in this picture, right? This is Punjab police, this is South Indian police, maybe Kerala police, this is Andhra Pradesh police, so yeah, this is in Pondicherry police. So every police uniform is different. Now also, the private security personnel is also donning khaki uniforms. So there will be confusion whether this is a police personnel or this is a private security, right? So whatever prime minister is saying, that it should have a brand or it should have a quality, right? So we can have a mass manufacturing of the same clothing, and it will also creates huge employment opportunities. Apart from having a brand quality, it will also have huge employment opportunities. This is just an opinion of prime minister. Also, he is advocating many other ideas such as one nation, one ration card, one nation, one election, right? Okay. So, also here he said that he will be removing AFSPA Act in many parts of Nagaland. So, shall we move on to the next topic? Panel here claims against social media platforms. So, last year our government has made it compulsory that the platforms such as Facebook, Twitter should have an intermediary, or it should have an grievance officer to hear the grievance of the users, right? So, and they should also record the grievances in a record, and it should be given to central government on yearly basis. So some users are not satisfied with these appellate officers of these social media. So what government, central government is now constituting an appellate commission, uh, and it will be ready within the 3 months. So we'll be seeing the details. Option to appeal against a grievance redressal process of the platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube before an appellate panel to be formed by the central government, with center notifying its amendments. It will be notified through a gazette, right? Official gazette. Each committee will have the power to overturn or condemn moderator's decision. So, if Facebook has blocked someone's message, Facebook has masked someone's post or message, this appellate committee has power to overturn content moderators' decisions made by social media platforms. It will consist of a chairperson and two full-time members. A chairperson and a two full-time members. See the relevance of social media in today's world. Government has constituted an appellate committee. It consists of chairperson and two full-time members. This thing was not available a decade before, but it see the importance of this committee at the today's world, right? The new law follows multiple standards between, so this law has made a fight between the central and social media platforms. Even Twitter had moved to Karnataka High Court seeking an overview of the review and relief from overboard and arbitrary content blocking or orders from the government, right? So, as per the notification, any person aggrieved by the decision of the intermediate grievance officer may prefer an appeal to grievance appellate committee within 30 days from the date of receipt of communication from the intermediate. So, if we get an receipt from the intermediary officer, he from the date of receipt or from the date of receipt of receiving this receipt, he can file with the grievance appellate committee. So shall we move on to the grievance officer in the social media platforms was made through the the appointment or the provision for making these officers in the social media platforms was made through amendment of information technology intermediary guidelines and digital media ethics code, right? Which was made or which were notified by the government in 2021. So governance will be evenly distributed across capitals. Um, so these things were relevant, or these things were relevant for state government exams for APSC. But for UPSC, we have to see in a state like Andhra Pradesh, government is planning for new type of governance, a new type of governance. In our country, India, we know that we have a capital. We have one and only capital, Delhi, right? In Delhi, we have the power of legislative, right? We have a parliament there, executive, even executives like president or prime minister. Everyone's office is in Delhi, and even judicial. Supreme Court is located in Delhi. So what happens is Delhi will be crowded because every main functionaries of government is located in Delhi. But um, when this person, Jagan Mohan Reddy, became the CM of Andhra Pradesh, what he suggested is that he will be proposing three capital systems: Vizag, Vizag, Amravati, Amravati, and Karnool, right? What he said was he will be using Vizag as the executive capital. Office of Chief Minister, Governor, their offices will be in Vizag. In Amravati, they will be using it as an executive capital, right? Executive in the Vaishagapatnam. Wait, I'm not against it. I am saying that Amravati continues to be legislative capital. Amravati to be legislative capital, right? I was right. Amravati to be legislative capital, Vizag to be executive capital. So here, legislative means meeting of MLAs, uh, uh, placing new laws. This will be in Amravati, and Karnool will be the judicial capital of the state. So you can provide you can avoid the crowding up in the same place. So governance will be spreaded across the state. This is the aim of the new CM Jagan Mohan Reddy, right? So it is not implemented yet because it has some serious issues like land distribution or land related issues. But this idea will be a good idea. According to me, this idea will be a good idea, right? So this is all for today. An important announcement. Uh, Last 2 days, current affairs has not been added in YouTube, right? So I will be making it today, and I will be publishing it in the YouTube today itself, right? So sorry for the inconvenience. I can't do this due to some personal problems. Sorry for the inconvenience, right? Thank you.